morning and welcome once again to Singapore Innovation and Productivity Conference 2014. We hope you enjoyed the refreshments and we'll now take you right into our next topic for this morning. Presenting our next speaker is Professor Sergey Netterson, the Timken Chair Professor of Global Technology and Innovation at INSEAD and the Research Director of the INSEAD-Wharton Alliance. Professor Netterson will talk about the content shared in his new book, The Risk-Driven Business Model, that facilitates 4 key questions which will define your company and introduce a toolkit to help innovators better conceive the disruptive business models that create wealth and possibly revolutionize your industries. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming once again Professor Netterson. Thank you.
Can you hear me well? Yeah, very good. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My great pleasure to be here today. I want to thank Singapore Manufacturing Federation for inviting me. It was also my great pleasure to be on the judging panel for Best Model, for Business Model Innovation Awards. And today I want to talk about business model innovation. Why is this important? Manufacturers around the world struggle with improving productivity and reducing costs. But this is not enough anymore. It's not enough to just achieve lean principles, to use Six Sigma, and so on and so forth. The next stage is going to be innovation. And today I'm going to talk about a particular type of innovation, which I think immediately applies to small and medium-sized enterprises. I'm going to talk about business model innovation, and instead of telling you what business model innovation is about, I'm going to give you a simple example. So most of you would know this gentleman. This is Thomas Edison. And if I were to ask you, what is this gentleman famous for, I think most of you would guess that he invented a light bulb, right? This is very well known, one of the greatest inventions in the world. But very few people know that at the same time as Thomas Edison invented this light bulb, there were at least 22 other known inventors of a light bulb. Very similar light bulb, not that different, using the same technology. So why is that we think that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb and not the other 22 people? Well, the reason is because Thomas Edison invented something much bigger than a light bulb. What he invented is a business model of electricity the way we know it today. When Thomas Edison created a light bulb, he was the only one out of all the other inventors who thought that, look, this light bulb is great, but it cannot function unless somebody produces electricity. And you cannot produce electricity close to each consumer, so you have to somehow transmit electricity. So he thought of a business model which included a power plant, a step-up transformer, high-voltage transmission lines, then a step-down transformer, electricity pole, and finally there was a light bulb. But this light bulb was only a little tiny piece out of the entire business model of electricity that Thomas Edison created. What is amazing is that this is the same business model that we use now, many years later. The technology has changed, technology has evolved. We don't use Thomas Edison light bulb anymore, instead we use those energy efficient light bulbs. And we don't use Thomas Edison's generator of electricity, instead we have nuclear power stations, but pretty much the rest of the business model is the same. So this example is very telling. It shows you how technology evolves, but very often business models are very robust. They are sustainable. Something that was invented by Thomas Edison many years ago is what we use today still. But let's fast forward a little bit and look at some of the more recent business model innovations. And of course, everybody knows that Apple is a fantastic company. Apple is a very innovative company that keeps coming out with new innovations and new products and technologies. So how does Apple do this? Well, let's look at Apple. So Apple has a huge R&D budget. They invest a lot into innovation. They have a whole big team of engineers, brilliant designers who are sitting there and trying to come up in complete secrecy new products. Then this product is released to the market, released very, very infrequently, once in a few years. We don't know until the very last day how the product is going to look like. It's a complete secret. Apple is guarding design of the product very, very closely. There is a minimal user feedback. They don't really test this product with you and me. They just trust a few employees of Apple to test this product. And finally, they distribute it immediately through many, many middlemen. They flood the product through retailers, distributors, wholesalers. They sell it through mobile operators, and so on and so forth. Of course, to do that in one day, when the phone is released, you have to produce everything in complete secrecy in huge quantities. So you have to pay a lot of money to the contract manufacturers to be able to stock up huge inventory of the product and then flood the market. Can any of you do that? Can any of your companies do that? The answer is no. Small and medium-sized enterprises are just unable to do something like this because this requires huge investment. This requires you to be a big company. So how can you respond? How can you respond to this big, fantastic company that is very, very good at innovating new products and technologies? Well, the answer, as I see it, comes as a business model innovation. And here is an example of another company, Chinese company, Xiaomi, which does something completely different. It's an amazing company that is only 3 years old, but it already has sales of something like $5 billion per year. This company has a completely different business model. They don't have money because they started as a small company. They didn't have money to invest in R&D. So what they do instead, they listen closely to the customer, and they ask the customer, what kind of phone would you like to see? So they have minimal expenditures on innovation, and they constantly update features of the phone. Every Friday at 9 a.m., there is a new feature update and complete revamp of the operating system. The company goes directly to the users. They don't sell through retailers or distributors. They sell directly through internet, through website. And as a result, they receive direct feedback from users. They listen and see what users would like to see in a phone. They produce very small quantity to test the market. And so if you are too late, you will not be able to buy the phone. You have to click real fast to get it. But as a result, they have zero risk. They only produce everything that consumers buy. So they don't bet on this huge unknown. They don't have to produce millions of phones in advance. They don't have to keep complete secrecy. And the company is amazingly successful. It listens to users so carefully that users are actually helping the company. Users translated operating system of Xiaomi into many, many languages without any involvement of the company whatsoever. So this is an example of a contrast between business model innovation by what used to be a small Chinese company, which goes against this Goliath, this huge Western company with big R&D, with big experience in product development and technology development. So the way I see it, business model innovation is something like this. It doesn't necessarily require a new product or technology. It can rely on completely existing technology and products. This is not how innovation happens. Technological innovation may require a new business model, but you can do business model innovation even with old technology. You don't really address any new market needs. Typically, you go for existing market needs. You already know that the market is there. You know that consumers want the product. You know that technology is highly predictable. You know that you're not betting on something which is impossible to predict. Instead, you innovate by inventing a superior business model to deliver product or service to the market. So this is, to me, what business model innovation is. I like to say that business model innovators are hiding in plain sight. We don't see them. We don't usually talk about them because the business model is hidden inside the company. But at the end of the day, I was able to document hundreds and hundreds of examples of business model innovators. And I'll show you just a few. You know, Ford was a business model innovator that invented a new way of producing cars, mass producing cars. Sears was a company that invented a catalog business. Dell completely revolutionized the computer industry by producing computers to order, while everybody else was producing computers to stock based on demand forecast. And there are many, many more examples, more new companies, like startups like Uber, which completely revolutionized the business model of taxi industry. And some Singaporean companies as well. So Redmart would be one example, which is a company which allows you to buy groceries on the internet instead of going to a normal store. And Edit Suits is a company which makes my suits and my shorts. They make it to measure, they send the person who measures you, and then on the internet I can completely customize what I buy with colors, different cuts, etc., etc., etc. So all of those are examples of companies that didn't really innovate for new products or technologies. If you think about Toyota, for example, Toyota is not really known for coming out with new technology, with new innovative engines or something like that. Their product is a pretty basic product in the automotive industry. Instead, what they do, they invented Toyota production system. So how do you innovate a business model? How do you start thinking about creating a new business model for your own company? Most of the time, what I see is companies focus for innovation on the profit formula. Profit formula, which includes a revenue stream, how you receive your revenues, a cost structure, how you spend money in your company, and what's called resource velocity, how you utilize your production facilities, how often you turn over your inventory. So most of the time what I see is companies try to either innovate costs or revenues. They try to reduce costs, for example, by outsourcing, or they try to increase revenues by charging customers differently, maybe putting them on subscription instead of pay-per-use, and so on and so forth. To me, this is very limited. This, in most cases, just does not work. Or it has already been done by somebody else in the industry. What you have to think about instead, and this is a big subject of my book, you have to look at risks, at uncertainties inherent in your business. Your business is going to face a lot of uncertainties. Uncertainties in technological development, uncertainties in demand, uncertainties in supply. And if you think carefully about those uncertainties, about those risks, you can devise a superior business model. So I'll give you a couple of examples of that. And all my examples are going to be on the manufacturing side because this is Singapore Manufacturing Federation. So I'm going to start with a company called Inditex. And Inditex is an amazing company which is the biggest apparel manufacturer in the world. They're not only manufacturers, they also control retail stores, Zara, Bershka, Pull&Bear, etc., etc. They have many, many brands. They are opening 2 stores per day, somewhere in the world, 2 stores per day. This is an amazing growth rate. And they are now the biggest apparel manufacturer in the world. Zara, Inditex and Zara and all of those brands, they exist out of Spain. Most of their manufacturing facilities are in Spain. This seems stupid. This does not seem right. Spain is a very expensive country. Why would you manufacture in Spain when everybody else manufactures apparel in Bangladesh and other cheaper places? They also do other seemingly stupid things. For example, they ship products to stores by air. This is very expensive. Nobody else does that. This does not make much sense. Why do they do this? Well, the reason is because they completely revolutionized the business model of apparel manufacturing. The way apparel used to work, apparel manufacturers would have 2 seasons, spring and fall, and they would plan collection for the next year, a year in advance. They would slowly try to predict what consumers want a year from now. They would slowly sign up suppliers far in the east. They would slowly produce, put things on the ship and ship them to retail locations. This would take about 12 months. Then, what would happen most often, companies would realize that they produced not what consumers wanted. And they actually didn't produce what consumers wanted because they bet on wrong colors, wrong styles, and so on and so forth. So what does Zara do? Zara and other brands in Inditex, they shrink this cycle. 1 year cycle of planning the assortment, they shrink it to about 2, 3, 4 weeks. How do they do it? They very quickly communicate information from the store manager to designers, and store manager goes around the store and asks consumers, what would you like? What would you like to see in our store? You just didn't buy this product. Why is that? Is that because of a color or is it because of the quality? What else didn't you like? And this is a kind of information that we can only collect by talking to customers. So store managers talk to customers, they call headquarters in Spain, and designers in headquarters immediately make the products that store managers recommend. Those products get produced right there in Spain, and they get shipped by plane to the stores. The whole product is a process from conceiving the product to selling it to consumer takes 2 weeks instead of normally a year. So what did Zara do? Is that a low-cost, kind of an efficient company? It's not low cost, they're very high cost. They produce in Spain, they ship by air. This cannot be a low-cost company. Maybe this is a high price point company, but no, if you shop at Zara, you will see that they're middle of the range. Their products are quite cheap. So what they did, they innovated around risk. They eliminated the risk of producing wrong product and not producing the right product. This is fundamentally what Zara has done, and this is what Zara's innovation is all about. Let me give you another similar example. So this company is called Timbuktu. It used to be a very small company. Now they have revenues in about $100 million or so. This is a company that produces travel accessories, and their factory is based in San Francisco, one of the most expensive cities in the world, probably equal to Singapore in the cost of living. Why do they produce in San Francisco? Well, the trick is they're not a simple travel accessory company. They produce custom-made bags. You can go to their website and you can pick colors, you can pick logos, you can pick lengths of stripes, and you can pick everything in this bag. And you will create a unique bag designed specifically for you. Of course, they charge a little bit more for those bags, but they are not competing with Gucci or Louis Vuitton. These are not extremely expensive bags. But they produce those bags on demand. Like Dell, they first receive an order from you, you pay money, and then they produce. There is no inventory, there is no mismatch between demand and supply. They produce exactly what you want at the time that you want. Of course, for that, you need manufacturing facilities close to end consumer, because you cannot wait for a bag to arrive, for example, from China, which will take several weeks. Which is why they produce in San Francisco, close to their consumers in the United States. They just opened a new store here in Singapore a few months ago. So very, very interesting company, small manufacturer, highly profitable, which innovates by eliminating the risk. Again, this is not a low-cost company. They produce in expensive locations. This is not a high-price company either. They eliminate the risk of mismatch between demand and supply. They produce what you want, when you want it. I'll give you one more example of business model innovation, and I'm going to stop there. So this is a very exciting company called Netafim. Netafim is an Israeli company which is a worldwide leader in drip irrigation technology. And they started as a small or medium-sized manufacturer. They wanted to be the best technology producer in the world, the best drip irrigation technology producer in the world. So they worked hard to create the best possible technology that allows to save water but grow plants. So they struggled for a while because they could not sell this technology to anyone. Their customers are poor farmers in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, that really need this kind of technology, but they're poor, they cannot afford it, and moreover, they are unable to verify or to believe in the benefits of this technology. To them, it's some kind of a shiny piece of equipment, and it's very hard to explain to them how it works, and it's very hard to prove to them that this piece of technology will really improve your crop yields. So what did Netafim do? They were thinking about this for a while, and first they did the wrong thing. First they said, okay, our technology is too expensive, we need to reduce cost of technology. Let's work at improving technology. And they worked hard at improving technology, but still, no matter what you do, their technology would still be more expensive than status quo for a farmer, which is to do nothing, to do things the old way. So at the end of the day, they did something different. They said, look, we need a different business model for this technology. And they started going to farmers and telling them, look, don't buy technology. We're going to give you technology for free. We're going to control the technology, and we're going to make sure that your plants get the exact amount of water that they need. And at the end of the year, we're going to measure improvement in your crop yields. And if you get more crops, more than some threshold, we're going to split benefits with you 50-50. So there is no risk for you. We're going to eliminate all risk for you. You adopt our technology, you pay absolutely nothing. If there are no benefits for you, you will never pay it. If there are big benefits to you, we're going to share them. So this is another example of business model innovation. And by the way, this company is now world leaders. They have about 33% market share in the world of drip irrigation. And again, innovation is not achieved by reducing costs or increasing revenues. Innovation is achieved by eliminating risk. In this case, the risk is on consumer side. The consumer is very afraid to buy a new shiny piece of technology. So these are some of the examples of business model innovations that you can find in my book, and you have dozens and dozens of more examples there. A few takeaways that I want to communicate to you today. Of course, my time here is very, very limited. So I want you to remember at least three things. So one, to me, innovations with business models is very often the blind spot of innovation. Managers don't think about the innovation of business models very often. They don't audit their business models. They don't think about, what is my business model? How long has it been like that? Have I changed my business model in response to the changing world? Managers, for example, love looking at their financial statements, love adding up numbers and looking at profits and costs, etc. But they rarely think with the same frequency about business models. They rarely get together and say, hey, let's look at our business model, let's see if this business model is still working well or if we need a different business model. Two, I believe that business model innovation is a game-changing. It's widely applicable to any industry, even industries that have not changed for many years. Inditex disrupted apparel industry, which existed for hundreds of years. For hundreds of years, people have done things the same way. And Inditex comes and disrupts it completely. Now, a lot of companies try to be like Inditex. What's nice about business model innovation, it requires very limited investment. It doesn't require any big R&D expenditures like innovations in technologies and products. And for you, for small to medium-sized enterprises, this is very important. Most of you do not have big R&D budgets of Apple or pharmaceutical companies. So most of you just cannot afford to invest a lot of money into new products and technology. If you have this kind of issue, then business model innovation is for you. And the third thing that I wanted to say is way too often, when you think about innovation, you focus on cost-revenue trade-off. And this is very, very dangerous. In fact, I would argue if you focus too much on efficiency, if you focus too much on reducing your costs, you will never innovate. If you focus just on reducing costs, on increasing efficiency, you will never create Zara. You will never create Inditex. You will never create Dell, because Dell is also not a low-cost manufacturer. They produce their desktops, for example, in the United States, because they produce them to order and they need to ship to consumer quickly. You would never create Timbuktu. You would never create any of those innovations that I showed you by thinking purely about improving efficiency, by thinking purely about decreasing your costs. What you need to think about is risk-return trade-off. What are the major risks? You are probably using the business model which was created in your industry many, many years ago. But since then, technology has changed. Consumers have changed. Demand has changed. Supply has changed. Probably many different risks you are facing now than you faced 10 years ago, 100 years ago. So this is what we need to think about, risk-return trade-off. And to summarize the differences between business model innovation and product and technology innovation, I do believe that business model innovation is very powerful because it's transferable across industries. If I am producing bags, I am Timbuktu. I look at Dell and I say, hey, Dell in the computer industry produces products to order. Can I do that? And the answer is, yes, I can. Business models are transferable. You can learn from companies in other industries and you can transfer it to your industry. Product and technology innovation is not transferable. If I know how to innovate products and technology in pharmaceutical industry, does this help me innovate in a computer industry? No. These two industries rely on completely different engineering knowledge, right? But business model, yes, it's very powerful. You can transfer it, you can learn from other industries. In the book, we describe a specific method how you can learn business model innovation and how you can apply business model innovation. With new products and technologies, it very often depends on a specific person. If Steve Jobs works at Apple, innovation happens. If Steve Jobs doesn't work at Apple, innovation doesn't happen. I do believe that business model innovation is sustainable. It's hard to copy. Toyota created Toyota production system 60 years ago. People still struggle to copy it. You can go, you can visit Toyota's factory. You can talk to Toyota managers. You can read 100 books that academics have written about Toyota. But has anyone copied Toyota? No, because the business model is within Toyota. It's very hard to observe from outside, and what you think you see are just symptoms. You very often don't realize what's beneath the surface. It took many years for other companies to copy Dell's business model. Dell was founded in 1984. It had zero revenue. 30 years later, it had revenue of $60 billion. Nobody noticed their business model until they were very, very big, until they had revenues of about $20 billion. Then people started wondering, what's going on? They must be doing something different. And finally, final advantage of business model innovation, it requires minimal R&D expenditure. So that's a nice thing about business model innovation. This is why it makes it so great for small to medium-sized enterprises. Moreover, startups and small to medium-sized enterprises are typically the biggest business model innovators that I see. I work a lot with startups, and this is where a lot of innovation is coming from, because big companies, they are too bureaucratic, they are too reliant on their old business model to create a new business model. It's hard for them to disrupt themselves, which is why it should be up to you to come in and create new Uber, to disrupt taxi industry, to create new Redmark, and so on and so forth. So what does it mean for all of you? Well, what it means is the business model innovation cannot be done in an R&D department. Business model innovation does not rely on engineering knowledge. It relies on knowledge of your business. It relies on knowledge of your industry. So business model innovation should come from you, from managers in those companies. You cannot just say, oh, I'm going to have a department, and the department is going to deal with business model innovation. It doesn't work like that. Top management in the company, people who understand how the business model operates, have to innovate. So CEO of the company has to be chief business model innovator. So that's the main message. You cannot just say, I'm going to hire a guy who's going to do innovation. A couple of final words, so where you can read more. My book is available, and Singapore Manufacturing Federation kindly made it available for purchase right here in the hall. So you exit, you go straight, and there is a stand. There are several articles that I had written in Harvard Business Review, which you can read as well. Beyond all, you can access our book's website at defineyourcompany.com. And if you have any kind of questions, any interesting stories about business model innovation, please don't hesitate to drop me an email. I'm here right around the corner, and I learn from you about business model innovations that happen in the industry. This year, I learned a lot from Business Model Innovation Award organized by SMI. So thank you for listening, and what are we going to do? We're going to do questions, or I'm out of time?
Thank you very much, Professor Sergey. Any questions very quickly for Professor Sergey from the floor? Anyone? Raise your hand. Thank you very much. Can we have a microphone? The gentleman over here. And once you receive your microphone, kindly please introduce yourself and where you're from. Thank you. We'll just be taking 2 questions, one after another very quickly, and then you can also have a one-to-one during lunch with Professor as well. Please.
Thank you, Professor. My name is Lightning. I'm from Car Club Travel Limited. I'd like to ask you to go back to the last slide that you have. On the left, the second and the third seems to contradict each other. Would you be able to differentiate them?
You mean second and third?
Yeah, possibility to describe them, but then it's hard to copy. So does it depend on a maverick like Steve Jobs, or is there a better way to sort of put this into practice?
Sure. So there is no contradiction here, I think. What it says is business model innovation has to be done by you, by people working at the company, using a method. Okay, and one of the methods I describe in the book. What do you do first? You generate ideas, you select ideas, you experiment, and so on. But once you have done all this process, you're going to learn a lot of things. You're going to discard some business model innovations. You're going to say, look, I tried it, it doesn't work. And you're going to focus on others. And you're going to say, hey, this works. This is not visible to outside. The outsiders will not be able to see that. They will not be able to see the learning that we went through. And what they will see the surface, right? So what did competitors of Dell see? Competitors of Dell and customers of Dell saw that Dell sells computers which are made of the same components as everybody else. It's Intel processor, it's Seagate hard drive, it's all the usual components that every single manufacturer uses. So to the outside world, there was no innovation. It's the same product, sold at the same price, right? Only if you were inside Dell, you would know that there is a difference, that actually computers are produced in a very different way, right? So the method can be learned, you can apply it within the company, it's very hard for outsiders to see it or copy it. Okay, so that's my message.
Thank you. And of course, we'll cut that short because we are getting short of time. However, Professor Sergey will join us during the panel discussion, which we invite you to attend as well. And we can open up more questions to the floor. Once again, ladies